Hi, and welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We are food bloggers,
Bita Arabian,
and Bita Nazim Kelly, and we're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking and how to incorporate them into today's modern lifestyles.
We're excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use, and also our own cultural stories and perspectives growing up in the U.S. in a Persian family. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to episode number 14, where we're going to be speaking about health in Persian food. Health is such a big topic, and given the time of the year and the new year, I think we're all ready to refresh and restart and think about our New Year's resolutions and goals. And what better time than the present to focus on our health? I know that we're all in a challenging time. Health is a really big subject that encompasses mind, body, soul. And given it's such a big subject, and there are many challenges right now that we're facing being in a global pandemic, including mental health, emotional health, and self-care, we are going to focus today, Bita and I, on the food side of that, the nutrition with regards to Persian food. So, Bita, hi.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited for the new year to come. 2020 had definitely had its challenges, and I'm looking forward and being hopeful that 2021 will help us get back to and set a new normal, not just for us, but for everyone in the world.
Yeah, I think most of us could agree that we're pretty much done with 2020 and ready to start anew with hope.
Yes.
Yeah, so Persian food, as we kind of touched on many times in previous episodes, so good for you, so nutritious. Fresh, whole, clean, simple, plant-based ingredients are plentiful in our diet.
Yeah, I agree. Persian food by nature has a ton of healthy elements to it. The fruits and vegetables and nuts and beans and legumes that are part of so many different recipes give a lot of nutritional benefits to the meals and are very healthy and not only provide delicious flavor, but they have antioxidants and anti-inflammation properties and probiotics in them, like the yogurt, that just really make them super healthy and make having delicious meals even better because they are actually so good for you.
Yeah, exactly. So we're probably all ready to kind of detox from possible overindulgences, including maybe some spirits or alcohol, maybe too many cookies. I know I've been munching on cookies and baking a lot, and I'm ready to go clean. So a lot of times this time of year, I start having a green smoothie every day just to kind of get myself in that element. But you're right, in Persian food, naturally, the khoresh has a lot of herbs and vegetables. It's very plant and vegetable heavy and so healthy in nature. If it doesn't come in a box or a bag, it's probably from a tree, a branch, or from the ground and good for you. That's what we mean by plant-based, highly nutritional. And if it's from a box or a bag, there's probably a really long ingredients list.
Yeah.
So the fewer ingredients, the better it is for you, which hence, if you're creating it yourself, you know what you're putting in it.
Yeah.
And so we are encouraging you take some experiments in the kitchen, start cooking for yourself and trying some Persian dishes.
Yeah, and the khoresh that you were talking about, the foundation of khoresh is pretty much vegetable based. So you start off with onions and you have a ton of different, depending on what the khoresh is, vegetables. The eggplant khoresh, the khoresh de bademjun, is all eggplant with tomatoes and onions. And you can actually sub in zucchini if you would like in that dish. Or the different khoresh like sabzi is all the bunch of different kinds of herbs, and it has kidney beans and lemons in there. And the foundation of the vegetables is great, but we've talked about adding meats. There's a lot of variation that you can do. Put whatever type of meat that you feel like using. You know, if you want to use red meat, that's totally fine. If you want to sub in some poultry or just make it vegan, you can totally do that with the Persian recipes because they are starting off with that vegetable foundation. When we talk about dairy in Persian food too, there's yogurt, which plays a big role in the salads like masto khiyar or masto misir, or just having plain yogurt on the side with so many different meals. But there isn't such a strong call for dairy in Persian cuisine for people who want to stay away from that. If we want to talk about rice too, that is naturally gluten-free for people who have those kinds of restrictions.
Yeah, in terms of heart health, Persian food is similar. It's not technically in the quote unquote Mediterranean diet, but it has a lot of similarities to Mediterranean food and is good for you and good for your heart in those senses. Like you said, the dairy that we have, it's not really like fatty cheeses. Feta is not a fatty cheese. Yogurt has a lot of health benefits. That's kind of the extent of our dairy. We don't have a ton of dairy. Also related to the Mediterranean way of eating would be the vegetables and the fruit and the nuts and the berries. And then you can also alter our dishes to make them more Mediterranean ish. For example, the Mediterranean way of eating, which has been known to be super good for you since like the 1960s, doesn't have a lot of red meat. So what you can do is you can reduce red meat and add poultry and fish and substitute it in, or you can do without it altogether. You can also switch up cooking oil and use olive oil in many dishes. It sometimes changes the flavor. Like I won't use olive oil in rice. That's one place I won't use olive oil, but I will use it in just about everything else. And olive oil is a healthy fat. So there are healthy fats. By nature, the other thing related to Mediterranean way of eating would be spices. So to add flavor with spices versus adding flavor with adding fat or fatty meats or oil or sugar. Enhancing a dish by delicious aromatic spices is a really healthy way of boosting that dish and still having it be delicious and really, really good for you.
Yep, absolutely.
The Persian cuisine and culture often chooses fruit for dessert, and fresh fruits are a big part of the whole day. I know I put a ton in my morning oatmeal, and we try to have fruit after dinner. In my daily coaching practice, I'm encouraging adding fresh fruits, adding fresh vegetables, trying something new versus taking away. So we don't really want to use the word diet. Diet's definition is to restrict yourself. Instead of restricting yourself, we want to add plentiful, beautiful, flavorful foods.
Yeah, that's a great way to talk about it too, because in the current situation of everything, we feel like so many things have been taken away from us. So if you kind of reposition it and add new things into your menu and your meal plans, then it definitely feels like you're enriching it in a better way. Having fruit available throughout the day is definitely part of Persian culture.
Yeah. And then a lot of our dishes have beans and legumes, so nutritious, healthy fibers, vitamins, minerals. They fill you up. Ancient grains, many of them which are naturally gluten-free. And again, switching up how you prepare things. For example, the eggplant that you talked about, that doesn't have to be deep fried. That could be baked and still be creating that traditional recipe with the good flavors, but taking out some of the oils.
Yeah, exactly. Another substitute to cut down on some oil, like when we make kuku sabzi, the herb frittata, there's some recipes I've seen that actually call for a ton of eggs in there. I usually make my one pan frittata with just 4 eggs, so you can kind of experiment with what works best. But traditionally, that dish is fried in a pan with a bunch of oil, and once you flip it, you have to actually use more oil. But I love actually baking it, and you can bake it in little like cupcake molds, and you can actually do like a spray oil, or if you did want to put it in a pan, you can also just line the pan with parchment paper, and that really cuts down on how much oil you need to use. So there's different alternatives to just make it a little healthier, so you're not using so much oil, you're not using so many eggs, to still get that great flavor and get all the nutrition that comes in those dishes in a simple way.
Yeah. Baking is a great way to cut down on oil. Good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, nuts. There's a lot of times on the side of Persian food or at the table with the sabzi khordan, we have fresh herbs on the side. And a lot of times they have walnuts or almonds. You can make mini little like wraps with like a little piece of lavash, some feta cheese, and some fresh herbs and some nuts in there. So the nuts are definitely brain foods. We have a dish called khoresh fisanjun, which is all walnuts and pomegranate molasses, which is actually great from like a brain food standpoint, but it is pretty fatty. So I think that one of the key things to talk about is also portion control and balance and being able to really enjoy it and have the nutritional benefits of it, but knowing that you can't have like a ton of خورش فسنجون just because it does have a lot of the fats that if you eat without balance, you may like overindulge in it.
Yeah, good point. Oh, balance is so key in all the aspects. And for sure, when you're eating yummy Persian food.
Yeah, exactly.
I made fasinjun a few days ago and I love it so much. But yeah, very dense. And it has pomegranate molasses, which has a lot of sugar. I love it so much. I started to eat it like soup. It's just so delicious. And so finding that balance and add some salad, add some greens and make that well-rounded plate. Just the simplicity of Persian food. Given an abundant garden, you could probably go out and pick a bunch of fresh herbs and spinach and grab some nuts and berries and create an amazing, delicious, nutritious dish with very simple, whole ingredients. And I think that's what I love most about it, that and the spices.
Yeah.
Spices reminds me of our question of the day.
Yeah, we are now ready for the Ask the Beat section where we ask our listeners to submit questions that they have regarding Persian food and culture. And today's question comes from Lauren in the Bay Area. And she asks, what is the most common Persian spice and what do you use it in? Do you want to go first, Bita?
Oh, sure. The most common spice that comes to mind for me would be saffron. I use it the most. I know every home chef probably has a different most common one, but I really love saffron spray in the modern version. So it now comes marketed in spray form. So I can just spray it on my rice and spray it on my onions that I'm cooking up. So I think I use that one the most often for my Persian cooking. How about you?
For me, turmeric is the spice that I use most often. I don't use a ton of turmeric. I usually just use like a teaspoon when I'm sauteing onions for whatever Persian dish that I'm making. But pretty much the basis of every Persian dish that I make starts with frying onions and adding turmeric to it. And as I've mentioned numerous times before, I love having turmeric in some hot water with a little bit of black pepper every morning to start my day and giving me the anti-inflammation and just protecting my body. And I've been doing that maybe for 8 to 10 months. So it's kind of like a newer thing that I've been doing, but I actually really enjoy it. And it's a nice little ritual for me to start my day. But saffron is great too. I haven't gotten into the saffron spray as much, primarily because I don't have it. So I have to get one actually.
Yeah, I need to send you some.
But yeah, I mean, I love saffron and adding it to obviously my tahdig when I'm making tahdig, but I love actually blooming it and using it with seafood on salmon, or sometimes if I'm making shrimp, I'll just roast shrimp and then add a little bit of the saffron that's bloomed in the hot water to it. And it makes it delicious, but I agree that saffron is used a lot too.
Nice. There's a common thread between our favorite spices, the saffron and the turmeric, both also have the ability to enhance the color. So they provide not only flavor, but color.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
I'd say saffron gives a little bit more of a reddish orange, where turmeric gives more of a yellow, but they also color the food, which is cool. Saffron's like a little bit of a sweeter flavor to me, whereas turmeric can sometimes have a bite, like you said, if you put too much.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll use both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of dishes I will use both.
They're nice in combination.
Yeah, and you're right. You have to really kind of be careful when you're cooking with it that your apron or your dish towels or your hands don't get completely stained.
Yeah, and makes for a beautiful dish.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to email us at hello@modernpersianfood.com or reply to any of our social media posts. And we'd love to feature you guys in a future episode.
Thank you, Bita. Here's to a healthy, happy, hopeful year ahead.
Yeah. Cheers to you and to your family and to all our listeners. Happy New Year. And hopefully 2021 will make up for everything that 2020 took away from us. So let's keep adding positive things to it.
I love that. Cheers. Happy New Year.
Cheers. So you've been listening to Modern Persian Food with Bita and Beata. Thanks for spending time with us. If you enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling your friends or giving us a good rating on iTunes. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com for recipes and info that we talked about today. Thanks so much. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.